The morning table looks harmless, with toast popping, coffee steaming, something sweet or salty to get you going. But what if the very foods sold as quick and trustworthy breakfast are the ones quietly shaving years off the lives of older Americans? When a product needs bright dyes to look golden, chemicals to stay pink, and whiteners to shine, it shouldn't be called breakfast. New reviews and regulatory alarms in the last 2 years keep pointing at the same villains. Ultra-processed shortcuts spiked with artificial colors, nitrite-cured meats, DNA risk whiteners, and fats that harden arteries. Precisely the burdens aging bodies can't keep absorbing every single day. The stakes aren't just today's blood pressure or tomorrow's sleep. They are memory, mobility, and the years you hope to spend with the people you love. This is the Downturn Report, where the truth gets personal. Today we pull back the wrapper on 7 breakfast staples that are slowly poisoning seniors every morning. Let's begin. Number 1. Kellogg's Frosted Flakes. That familiar blue box with the grinning tiger doesn't just sit on a shelf, but also in memory of generations. Been there through decades of busy mornings, quick bowls before school, and now, in the quiet kitchens of older Americans, it's still smiling like nothing's changed. Frosted Flakes feels like a friendly handshake from the past. So cheap, easy, and steady, the kind of thing you toss into your cart without thinking twice. But sometimes the things we trust the most are the ones that slip past our guard. How much of that smile is for you and how much is for the profit? Early in 2025, independent food safety labs tested US batches of Frosted Flakes and uncovered an ugly truth. BHT, short name for butylated hydroxytoluene, and BHA, which is butylated hydroxyanisole, lurking in those golden flakes. These preservatives are banned in the European Union, the United Kingdom, and Japan because years of toxicology research have linked them to hormone disruption, organ damage, and a higher risk of cancer after long-term exposure. Here's the part that should stop you cold. Kellogg's already sells a cleaner, safer version overseas. They know how to make Frosted Flakes without these chemicals, but they don't hear. Why? Because in America, the law lets them keep the cheaper, riskier recipe, and you're the one eating it. But preservatives aren't the only problem. These flakes are swimming in high fructose corn syrup, a sweetener that's been tied to type 2 diabetes, obesity, and fatty liver disease. In late 2024, the American Heart Association reaffirmed that it's especially harmful for older adults whose bodies handle sugar less efficiently. One serving carries more sugar than whole desserts, yet it's passed off as breakfast. That's like topping a slice of cake with milk and pretending it's a balanced meal. And there's another shadow hanging over that bowl. In mid-2024, supermarket tests of corn-based cereals found glyphosate residues, the same weed killer at the heart of cancer lawsuits. It's not poured in by Kellogg's directly, but it comes along for the ride through pesticide-heavy corn farming. US regulators say the levels are safe, but those same levels would break the rules in Europe. If you eat this cereal every day for years, those trace amounts aren't traces anymore. They're a slow collection of chemicals your body never asked for. The real question is why American seniors are worth less on a balance sheet than European customers. Is Tony the Tiger's cheery grin just camouflage for a calculated choice? To market nostalgia to the very generation most at risk from what's inside? And how many bowls have been poured for children under the illusion that it's wholesome? Of course, in the boardrooms of Kellogg's, the picture looks different. There's investor pressure to keep costs low, competition from cheaper brands, and the constant squeeze of the global supply chain. Reformulating for the US market would be expensive, and no law forces it. They're playing within the rules, a game designed to reward profit over protection. But every rule has a human cost. In this one, it's measured in quiet mornings and fighting health. If you still want the comfort of cereal without the hidden baggage, there's a way. Brands like Nature's Path or Cascadian Farm skip the BHT, BHA, high fructose corn syrup, and artificial colors. Or you could bake a simple granola at home, with oats, nuts, and dried fruit. The meal is so honest you could hand it to a child without a second thought. It takes no more effort than making cookies and keeps for weeks in a jar. Once you taste cereal that hasn't been processed for maximum shelf life, that blue box starts to look a little less like a friend and more like a salesman at your breakfast table. So maybe the bigger question isn't just about Frosted Flakes, but for the system that decides what's good enough for your plate. If other countries can protect their people from these risks, why can't we? Number 2. Jimmy Dean breakfast sandwiches. They wait in the freezer aisle like a handshake you can count on. Individually wrapped, heat and eat, and loaded with that diner-style combo of egg, cheese, and sausage that makes the whole kitchen smell like Sunday morning. Jimmy Dean has built an empire on the promise of comfort breakfast, the kind you can grab with one hand while pouring coffee with the other. For older Americans juggling tight budgets and stiff mornings, yes, even after retirement, this feels like a gift. No skillet, no dishes, no drive to the local greasy spoon. The commercials paint golden sunlight spilling through a warm kitchen window, happy families sharing laughs over a hot sandwich. But in truth, that golden light fades fast once you know what's tucked between that biscuit and sausage patty. In February 2025, the FDA's updated product testing flagged multiple Jimmy Dean breakfast sandwiches for containing sodium nitrite, a chemical preservative used in processed meats to keep them looking pink and fresh. That rosy color hides a much darker truth. Sodium nitrite is banned for certain uses in the European Union, heavily restricted in Canada, and tightly controlled in Norway and Japan because it can form nitrosamines inside the body, compounds directly linked to stomach and colorectal cancer. The World Health Organization classifies processed meats with nitrites as Group 1 carcinogens, the same danger category as asbestos and tobacco smoke. And yet, in America, this ingredient still slides right past regulation and into your morning routine. The problem stacks higher. Many varieties also contain TBHQ, tertiary butyl hydroquinone, a synthetic antioxidant banned in the European Union after studies suggested it may damage DNA, enlarge the liver, and weaken the immune system. The so-called safe levels allowed in U.S. food are based on short-term testing, not on decades of daily exposure, especially not in seniors whose bodies filter toxins more slowly. A 2024 review in Food and Chemical Toxicology warned that long-term TBHQ exposure could worsen inflammation and accelerate cognitive decline. Imagine starting your day with something that slowly chips away at your memory and mental sharpness, and then comes the salt bomb. Just one sandwich can pack over 1,200 milligrams of sodium, more than half the daily limit the American Heart Association recommends for adults over 60. That's not counting the saturated fat from the processed cheese and fatty sausage, which pushes LDL cholesterol upward, raising the risk of heart attack and stroke. For those already managing hypertension or on heart medication, this isn't just poor nutrition, it's a calculated risk hidden inside a warm biscuit. The deeper you dig, the more unsettling it gets. Investigations in 2024 revealed that some pork suppliers for Jimmy Dean face citations for unsafe worker conditions, repetitive strain injuries, inadequate protective gear, and exposure to harsh cleaning chemicals. Animal welfare audits pointed to overcrowding, botched stunning before slaughter, and continued use of ractopamine in hog feed. Ractopamine, a growth drug, has been banned in 160 countries, including the European Union, China, and Russia, because of its potential to cause rapid heart rate, cardiovascular strain, and long-term health risks in humans, not to mention its impact on animal welfare. So the issue isn't just chemical, it's ethical. And yet these sandwiches keep getting sold as home-style and hearty, wrapping industrial shortcuts in the warm blanket of nostalgia. This is where the wound in America's food culture cuts deepest. We've accepted the idea that speed equals quality, even when it comes laced with substances banned in half the world. How many grandparents have microwaved one of these for a grandchild, thinking they were serving love, not carcinogens? How many mornings are shaved off the back end of a life for the sake of saving 10 minutes in the kitchen? And what does it say about our future when feeding the next generation is a gamble with banned chemicals? If the flavor calls to you but the chemical baggage doesn't, you can make your own breakfast sandwich in under 15 minutes. Choose nitrate-free sausage or turkey bacon from brands like Applegate or Coleman Natural. Add a fresh egg and layer it on a whole-grain English muffin. You can freeze a batch wrapped in wax paper, then reheat in a toaster oven just as quickly as a frozen pack. Farmers markets often sell pasture-raised pork without ractopamine, and even budget chains like Aldi and Lidl now stock no nitrite options. Same speed, same taste, none of the banned chemical roulette. The bigger question is this: at what point do we decide that good enough breakfast is not good enough when it risks our health and our children's future? And how long will America keep calling something comfort food when the comfort comes at the cost of the very years we're hoping to enjoy? Number 3. Duncan glazed donuts. They have a way of turning a dull, gray morning into something that feels like a small-town parade. Soft, sweet, and carrying that unmistakable aroma that pulls you straight back to easier times. Duncan has spent decades cementing its place in American life as the spot where America runs, and its classic glazed donut is the crown jewel. A quick, affordable comfort to pair with coffee before work, church, or your grandkids' ball game. For older Americans, it's more than a treat. It's a familiar handhold in a changing world. No frying pans, no dishes. Just a couple of bucks. A friendly nod from the cashier who might know your name, and you're on your way. But under that glossy sugar glaze, the ingredient list reads like a chemical warning label that no one bothers to post on the door. Independent lab tests from late 2024 revealed that Duncan's glazed donuts contain titanium dioxide, a whitening agent used to give that perfect, even-colored icing. It's not harmless window dressing. The European Union banned titanium dioxide in 2022 after the European Food Safety Authority concluded it could build up in the body and damage DNA, raising cancer risks. The ban came after years of review, not guesswork. Even small repeated doses can harm people with slower cellular repair systems, exactly the group older adults fall into. Yet here in the US, it's still allowed in food, and Duncan uses it without a single warning to the customers who trust them. That glaze hides another heavyweight, high fructose corn syrup. This isn't just about calories, it's about how your body's engine runs. Updated studies in 2024 found that regular HFCS intake drives insulin resistance, fatty liver disease, and chronic inflammation. Prime conditions for heart disease and even dementia. In an aging body already less efficient at processing sugar, it's like tossing gasoline on embers. One donut may look innocent, but it's the nutritional equivalent of kicking off your morning with dessert and calling it fuel. The hits keep coming with artificial dyes. Tests showed trace amounts of yellow 5 and red 40. Synthetic colors banned or restricted in countries like Norway, Austria, and throughout much of the European Union. These dyes have been linked to hyperactivity in children and possible cancer risks in animal studies. While the US still permits them, a 2024 California state review recommended warning labels for foods containing these dyes, pointing to growing evidence of neurological and immune system impacts over the long term. And then there's the frying. Duncan's donuts are cooked in partially hydrogenated oils. Yes, the same type that can hide trans fats, even when the label legally says 0 grams, thanks to loopholes in US food law. The World Health Organization has declared that there is no safe level of trans fat consumption. None. These fats are directly tied to hardened arteries, strokes, and sudden cardiac death. So the very oil that gives the donut its fluffy bite may be quietly hardening the arteries that keep older Americans alive. The cultural camouflage is what makes this sting. Donuts in America have been turned into a harmless symbol of community. A box at a church gathering, a dozen for the office break room, a Sunday family tradition. That normalization hides the real stakes. For someone over 60, eating these on a regular basis isn't a cheeky indulgence. It's playing a long game with your health where the house always wins. And the question lingers, why are US seniors still being served ingredients that entire continents have decided are too dangerous to eat? If the pull of a glazed donut is too strong to quit entirely, there are safer ways forward. Local bakeries, especially those labeled organic or clean label, often skip titanium dioxide and synthetic dyes. Baking your own donuts at home with whole wheat flour, organic sugar, and coconut oil keeps trans fats off the table completely. Air fryer recipes slash the oil use, and affordable countertop donut pans make the process nearly effortless, even if you're cooking for just yourself. The flavor might not mimic the chemical punch of a mass-produced glaze, but it offers something better: satisfaction without the hidden toll. And here's the real heart of it. When did we, as a culture, decide that nostalgia and convenience outweigh the health of the very people who built the neighborhoods Duncan serves? How many Sunday smiles at the counter will be followed by a slow, invisible erosion of health at the breakfast table? And if we're willing to gamble with the health of our elders, what future are we really setting for the generations yet to come? Number 4. McDonald's Egg McMuffin. It's been called the original fast food breakfast, the one that set the blueprint for how America eats on the go. A neatly stacked English muffin, a perfectly round egg, a slice of Canadian bacon, and a square of cheese that melts just enough to glue it all together. The Egg McMuffin has long been marketed as the balanced choice, a supposedly smarter alternative to syrup-drenched pancakes or greasy diner platters. It's the fuel for early morning meetings, the warm bite before a road trip, the quick fix for seniors who want something filling without the hassle of cooking. But peel back the paper wrapper, and what's hiding inside is a blend of additives and processed shortcuts that would make most other developed nations put up a stop sign. Front and center is the Canadian bacon, meat kept pink and shelf-stable with sodium nitrite. This isn't just a harmless preservative. Sodium nitrite is banned for certain uses across the European Union and heavily restricted in Norway because it can form nitrosamines in the body, chemical compounds with a proven link to colorectal and stomach cancers. The World Health Organization's International Agency for Research on Cancer places processed meats containing nitrites in the same Group 1 carcinogen category as asbestos and cigarette smoke. For older Americans, many already managing heart conditions or digestive issues, that's not a harmless breakfast treat. It's a quiet accelerant on long-term disease. The cheese slice isn't just dairy. It often contains sodium aluminum phosphate, an aluminum-based additive banned in several countries and under increasing scrutiny in the EU for potential ties to neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's. For seniors who process heavy metals more slowly, cumulative exposure can be far more dangerous. Then there's the English muffin. Innocent looking, but in the US, it can be made with potassium bromate, a flour improver banned in over 60 countries, including the entire EU, the UK, and Canada, due to its classification as a possible human carcinogen. The loophole? US law allows it as long as residual levels are low, but repeated testing has shown that traces frequently remain in baked goods after production. And the sodium content? One Egg McMuffin delivers roughly 770 milligrams. Over a third of the daily limit the American Heart Association recommends for adults over 60. Add a hash brown and coffee, and you're already halfway there before the clock strikes 9. High sodium is a leading contributor to hypertension, kidney damage, and stroke, all top causes of death among older Americans. Combine that with the saturated fat from cheese and bacon, and you have a breakfast engineered to keep cardiologists busy for decades. Concerns go beyond the nutrition label. In late 2024, investigative reports revealed that some McDonald's egg suppliers still relied on battery cages, overcrowded, restrictive enclosures banned in the EU over a decade ago on animal welfare grounds. While McDonald's has pledged to go cage-free in the US, progress has lagged, meaning that the eggs in your sandwich may come from farms that would be considered unacceptable in much of the developed world. This points to a bigger flaw in America's breakfast culture. The Egg McMuffin is framed as the healthier drive-thru option, but that's only true if you measure it against the most indulgent junk food. It's a marketing trick that keeps the bar low, convincing people they're making a smart choice when the reality is that safer, cleaner options already exist elsewhere in the world, and when additives, preservatives, and sourcing practices are deemed too risky for other countries but still end up in an iconic American breakfast, it forces a hard question. Are we valuing speed and convenience over the health of the very generation that built the communities these restaurants serve? If you crave that same satisfaction without the chemical hit, it's easier than it sounds to make your own. A whole wheat English muffin from a bakery that avoids potassium bromate, a slice of nitrate-free ham or turkey, and a freshly cooked egg can be assembled in under 10 minutes. Prep several ahead of time. Merci pour pasti, mortaboheitsein, wrap them and store them in the fridge for the week. You'll save money and skip the drive-thru line. Farmers markets and even discount grocers now carry local eggs and hormone-free meats that cut out the worst offenders entirely. So the question lingers. If over 60 countries have already decided these ingredients don't belong on their breakfast tables, why are we still letting them define ours? And how many more mornings will we trade away for the illusion that fast and healthy can share the same wrapper when, in reality, they rarely do? Number 5. Starbucks Frappuccino bottled coffee drinks. On the surface, they're harmless. A sleek glass bottle tucked into gas station coolers, grocery aisles, even hospital vending machines. For many older Americans, grabbing one feels like a small upgrade from soda, a sweet moment of cafe luxury without the price tag of a fresh latte. But behind the Green Mermaid's smile hides a recipe that could be quietly sabotaging senior health. One 13.7-ounce bottle can pack up to 47 grams of sugar, nearly twice the daily limit the American Heart Association sets for women over 60, and well above the limit for men. Much of it comes from high fructose corn syrup, a cheap sweetener linked to type 2 diabetes, fatty liver disease, and chronic inflammation. While the EU limits HFCS use, the US lets it flow freely. These drinks also contain carrageenan, banned in US organic foods and avoided in the EU for links to digestive inflammation, and in some batches, trace titanium dioxide, prohibited in the EU for its DNA-damaging potential. Add artificial flavors with undisclosed chemicals up to 130 milligrams of caffeine and nearly 300 calories, and you have a dessert disguised as coffee. For older bodies, that means weight gain, blood pressure spikes, sleep disruption, and a slow buildup of compounds other countries won't touch. A safer indulgence? Brew cold coffee at home, add unsweetened plant milk without carrageenan, and sweeten lightly with honey or maple syrup. The question is, when coffee starts looking more like soda, why are we still pretending it's just a pick-me-up? Number 6. Instant oatmeal packets. They arrive in cheerful little packets, promising warmth, comfort, and the illusion of a farm-fresh morning. For decades, Quaker's flavored instant oatmeal, like maple and brown sugar, has been sold as a wholesome, heart-friendly choice. Tear, pour, stir, and you've got something that feels homemade. But open the ingredients list and the story changes fast. One packet can hold up to 12 grams of sugar, much of it from high fructose corn syrup. A sweetener the EU restricts, and many European brands have dropped entirely. In 2024, studies reaffirmed HFCS's link to type 2 diabetes, fatty liver disease, and systemic inflammation. For seniors managing blood sugar, that healthy start is a metabolic trap. Then there's the caramel color type 4, which can produce 4-MeI, a potential carcinogen requiring a cancer warning in California, but not under federal law. Countries like the UK and Norway restrict such additives, yet here they sit in a so-called health food. Late 2024, testing also detected glyphosate residues. Yes, the weed killer banned or limited in over 20 countries. In some Quaker oat products. Combine that with over 250 milligrams of sodium per packet, and the breakfast once praised for heart health quietly undermines it. The better path? Plain rolled or steel-cut oats, sweetened with fruit or pure maple syrup. They cost less, last longer, and skip the chemical baggage, which leaves one question. If even oatmeal isn't safe from processing, what healthy label can we trust anymore? Number 7. Frozen waffles. They may look like pure nostalgia, golden, soft, and ready in minutes. But Eggo buttermilk waffles hide far more than childhood memories. Their golden color comes from yellow 5 and yellow 6, dyes banned in Norway and Austria and labeled with health warnings in the EU for links to hyperactivity and potential cancer risks. In the US, they're still poured in freely. These waffles also contain partially hydrogenated oils, a source of trans fats banned in the EU for driving up LDL cholesterol, lowering HDL, and increasing heart attack and stroke risk. Even when labels claim 0 grams, US loopholes allow small amounts, enough to matter for seniors eating them often. The flour may also contain potassium bromate, banned in over 60 countries for its possible carcinogenicity, yet residues were still detected in consumer tests as recently as late 2024. Add in high fructose corn syrup. Restricted in the EU, but common here, and you've got a breakfast that quietly fuels diabetes, obesity, and liver damage. Marketed as family-friendly, these waffles are really a chemical-laced shortcut other nations have already rejected. Better options? Nature's Path, Kashi, or Van's frozen waffles skip the worst offenders, or make your own in batches and freeze them. The real question: why are US seniors still waking up to additives much of the world has left behind? Together, let's question what's on our plates and protect the health of every generation. Subscribe and join the conversation today.
Thank you for watching all the way to the end. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss our daily content. Now feel free to check out some of the newest and best videos currently shown on your screen. Goodbye, and see you in the next video.